Imagine losing everything, your fortune, your reputation, your sanity, and then one day deciding, you know what, I'm the Emperor of America now. And then imagine if everyone just went along with it. In the chaotic gold rush days of San Francisco, one man pulled off exactly that. No armies, no bloodshed, no political revolution, just a declaration in a newspaper and sheer, magnificent audacity. This is the story of Joshua Abraham Norton, the only emperor the United States has, so far, ever had. A man who turned spectacular failure into one of history's most bizarre second act. How did a ruined businessman become royalty? And why did an entire city decide to play along? Before the crown, before the legend, Joshua Norton was just another ambitious immigrant chasing fortune. Born in England in 1818 and raised in South Africa, Norton arrived in San Francisco in 1849 with $40,000 in his pocket, equivalent to over $1 million today. San Francisco in the 1850s wasn't just a city, it was a fever dream, a muddy boom town where fortunes were made and lost overnight. Norton quickly established himself as a shrewd businessman, building a real estate empire and becoming a respected figure in the burgeoning metropolis. But the universe has a twisted sense of humor. Norton's attempt to corner the rice market in 1852 should have made him obscenely wealthy. Instead, it bankrupted him completely when Peru unexpectedly flooded the market with rice. Norton didn't just lose his money, he lost his mind. After vanishing from public life for several years, Norton returned in 1859 with what could best be described as a slight career change. On September the 17th, the San Francisco Bulletin received a peculiar notice. It read, "At the peremptory request of a large majority of the citizens of these United States, I, Joshua Norton, declare myself Emperor of these United States." It was signed simply Norton I, Emperor of the United States. Now at this point in most places, Norton would have been locked up or laughed out of town. But San Francisco in the 1850s wasn't most places. The city, with its carnival atmosphere and appreciation for theatrical characters, didn't mock their self-proclaimed emperor. They embraced him. Norton began appearing in an elaborate blue uniform with gold epaulets donated by officers at the nearby Presidio. He wore a beaver hat adorned with feathers and rosettes, and rather than dismissing him as a lunatic, San Franciscans bowed in his presence and referred to him as Your Majesty. Norton took his imperial duties seriously. He regularly inspected the streets, checking on the condition of sidewalks and cable cars. He attended city council meetings and the opening of every play, and he issued proclamations, magnificent, outlandish proclamations published by local newspapers desperate for colorful content. When political tensions rose in 1869, Norton issued perhaps his most famous decree. It read, "I, Norton I, Emperor of the United States and Protector of Mexico, do hereby order and direct the representatives of both parties to dissolve Congress and report to me for further instructions." Congress, needless to say, failed to dissolve itself. But Norton wasn't deterred. He ordered a bridge to be built connecting San Francisco to Oakland, which, decades later, actually happened. The Bay Bridge stands today as an inadvertent monument to Norton's vision. He banned use of the word Frisco for San Francisco, calling it an abomination, a sentiment many San Franciscans still agree with. When Norton witnessed anti-Chinese sentiment erupting into violence, he stood between the rioters and their targets, reciting the Lord's Prayer until the mob dispersed in shame. The emperor, it seems, was actually more progressive than many of his subjects. Perhaps most remarkably, Norton issued his own currency, beautifully engraved notes, in denominations from 50 cents to $10, bearing his name and title. And here's the truly incredible part. Local merchants actually accepted them. Restaurants proudly displayed signs reading, "By appointment to His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Norton I." Norton dined for free at the finest establishments in San Francisco, not as charity, but as imperial privilege. The city's elite considered having Emperor Norton at their restaurant a mark of distinction. When an overzealous police officer arrested Norton in 1867 to commit him to an asylum, the public outcry was immediate and furious. The chief of police personally apologized and released him. Afterward, police officers saluted Norton when they passed him on the street. He never paid for public transportation. Theater seats were reserved for him on opening nights, and his two dogs, the perhaps unfortunately named Bummer and Lazarus, became celebrities themselves, following the emperor on his daily rounds. But Norton wasn't just a harmless eccentric, he was genuinely adored. When his uniform became threadbare, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, with great ceremony, purchased him a suitably regal replacement. The city had stopped laughing at their emperor and started loving him instead. Why did San Franciscans embrace this magnificent eccentric? Perhaps because Norton represented something essential about their city, the freedom to reinvent yourself completely. In a place built on gold fever and wild speculation, Norton's imperial fantasy wasn't so different from the dreams that brought everyone else there. Or perhaps they recognized a profound truth. Norton might have been mad, but he was happy and ultimately harmless. In his delusion, he hurt no one while bringing joy to many. There's something oddly sane about that. On January the 8th, 1880, Emperor Norton I collapsed on a street corner and died before he could be taken to a hospital. The next day, the San Francisco Chronicle's headline read, "Le roi est mort, the king is dead." 10,000 people attended his funeral, a greater tribute than many actual heads of state receive. His death mask was cast in plaster, and businesses throughout the city closed in mourning. Today, Norton's legacy lives on in the city he ruled. His name even graces restaurants and beers. Tours visit his haunts. The city even considered naming the Bay Bridge after him. In a world obsessed with conventional success, Emperor Norton's story reminds us that the most extraordinary lives often follow spectacular failures, that sometimes dignity doesn't come from what reality hands you, but from what you proclaim yourself to be. Perhaps we could all use a bit more of Norton's magnificent delusion, the courage to crown ourselves emperors of our own lives, regardless of what anyone else thinks. Long live Emperor Norton I, the ruler who conquered not through force, but through pure, audacious charm.